All right, so UFC 266, the people's main event, the return of Nick Diaz taking on Robbie Lawler. If you're a Nick Diaz fan, you did not get the result that you were looking for, but still, let's get into it. It was an incredible fight, right? From start to finish, Nick Diaz showed up. Nick Diaz fought the way that he fights, and Robbie Lawler showed up as well. I mean, my word, right from the very start, Nick Diaz went out. This was the only dodgy thing that he did. That kicking combination right at the start was a little questionable. Wasn't the best technique or speed or whatever, but still, that was his entry into it, and then from there, they just went to war, the pair of them. This entire fight took place in a phone booth, right? Or it could have done, because they both stood in the pocket, trading blows non-stop, one after the other, predominantly all just hands. There was a few calf kicks from Robbie Lawler that were nice, but as I say, this could have taken place in a boxing ring, in a phone booth, anywhere. Somewhere in this room here, you didn't need a big space to have that fight, and it gave all the Nick Diaz fans what they wanted, what they came to expect from a Nick Diaz performance. Of course, they wanted the win. They never got that. We'll get to that in a second. But I thought Nick Diaz did himself proud. Of course, he came in not in the best shape as normal, you know, and we had this whole thing moving up to 185. And now, after I see the fight and when we hear what Nick said, you know, it's kind of interesting. He said, I had it coming. On the post-fight interview with DC, he said, I had it coming. He said that line several times. We'll get to that in a second. But the fight, listen, again, a tremendous amount of strikes thrown from both men. There was one time Lawler had hold of Diaz's hand, one hand trapping that one and teeing off with the other hand. I thought that was really creative of Robbie Lawler. Diaz with the lead hand threw about 6 or 7 punches off the lead hand. You don't see that too often. So you still saw a lot of skill on display. It was a tremendous fight and it was a good show of heart from both men. But of course, we know what happened in the third round, 44 seconds into it. Jason Herzog, the referee, steps in and calls time, right? And a lot of people might look at that and say, Nick Diaz quit. Now, I don't think so. I don't think he quit. I think we saw from Nick Diaz there what we saw all week from Nick Diaz. Raw honesty. No bullshit, right? Nick Diaz talked this last week, about being scared. He talks about his emotions and he often talks about that. And I think Saturday night was another reflection of that. That was him being honest with himself, right? It was a war. Who knows who was ahead on the scorecards, because it was very, very tough to score. Both men in rounds 1 and 2 landed a tremendous amount of blows. In round 3, Robbie got off to a good start. At the end of round 2, Robbie was kind of starting to take over. Nick Diaz was starting to slow down. He was starting to wilt to the pressure and the punches were looking more laboured. And by the way, even though Diaz did look slow, he still had a lot of success, and that's because of the skill that he has, the timing that he has, the experience that he has. So even though he was outmatched in speed and probably power on Saturday night, he still did a lot of good work. Now, third round, Robbie Lawler goes out, catches him with a couple of shots. Nick goes down to one knee, and then there was another little uppercut, and that puts him to his back. The referee steps over and said, right, come on, get up, because Robbie, rightly so, stepped away and said, no, get back to your feet. I'm not going to go down to the ground. I'm not going to play the jiu-jitsu game with you, where Nick Diaz clearly has an advantage. So that was smart from Robbie Lawler. He said, no, come on, get up. Nick Diaz refused. He said to Jason Herzog, I'm done, or something like that. And a lot of people at that moment in time see that as Nick Diaz quitting, but I don't. As I said earlier, you know, Diaz was honest all week, and that was another reflection of his honesty. That was him being honest with himself. That was him saying, you know what, I've given everything I could give. I've got no more to give. I've gone out there. I've gone to war for 2 rounds. I've taken a lot of punches. I'm starting to get slow. He's got the upper hand. If he'd have got back to his feet, what we would have saw was Robbie Lawler go over there and dish out even more punishment. And Diaz knew that. He knew at that moment in time, and fighters know. We know deep inside us, I've got nothing left. I am exhausted. My arms are tired. It feels like I'm punching through water. I'm taking a lot of shots to the head. We don't know how dazed he was, how rattled he was, how close to losing consciousness on numerous occasions. We don't know any of that, right? What we do know is that Nick Diaz, and this will surprise you, this statement, Nick Diaz was man enough to say, I'm done. And that's hard to do. That takes balls. And I know a lot of you might think that's crazy, what he gave up. It takes balls to give up. It takes balls to recognize that you're done. It takes honesty with yourself, real tough honesty to say, do you know what? He's got me. He's done. I'm done. He's beaten me. Do you know what I mean? To do that at that moment in time, to have that honesty and that self-reflection and say, do you know what? today's not my day. Well done, Robbie. You were the better man today. You got me. Because he could have got up. Of course, Nick Diaz could have got up, but he would have just taken another hiding. He would have taken more blows that he didn't need to take. And that could have contributed to CTE down the line, or more injuries, or the need to go to the hospital. We don't know. Listen, when you're in there, it's real shit. This ain't messing around. This ain't fun and games. This is real consequences. Serious consequences. And Nick Diaz knew at that moment in time, I'm done. There you go. Robbie, take it. Have it. You know, and as I say, that was a tough decision to make, but I respected it. Then on the microphone afterwards, he says to DC, I had it coming. I had it coming. He said that a few times. He alluded to the fact that he took this fight on 6 weeks' notice. And I think, because I was looking at Jake Shields' Twitter, Jake Shields obviously is a very good friend of Nick Diaz. He knows some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. And on Twitter, he was saying that, the snakes everywhere. He alluded to maybe there was a different opponent in place, but then it got switched to Robbie Lawler. That's why Nick was saying, I don't even know how this fight came about. And Jake Shields alluded to the fact that, he doesn't have the best people around him. And he said snakes everywhere. I'm assuming he's talking about his management there. And listen, that's the fight game, right? Unfortunately. As the sport of mixed martial arts get more and more professional, well, it can't get much more professional, but as it's got more professional, the amount of people or the level of professionals involved with it has got way better as well. But it is the fight game. There's a lot of shady customers, a lot of shady characters, a lot of criminals, a lot of people that are managing people that have no business managing people, and certainly people that are managing fighters that do not have the fighter's best interest at heart. They have their own back pocket at heart. Simple as that. Their own wallet, their bank balance. That's all they care about. But still, at the end of the day, Nick Diaz is a grown man, 38 years old. He is responsible for his own actions. So I can't let him off the hook completely and blame the managers. But still, trust me, I know. I've dealt with management in the past that were robbing me blind. Fortunately, I got with Paradigm Sports Management or the Atar's outfit, and they are beyond professional. So there's a lot of good guys out there as well. So I don't want to be too skeptical. A lot of good guys, but the fight game, there's a lot of sharks. Now listen, Nick Diaz lost, Robbie Lawler won. And I'm going to say this, coming into that fight, it was a 5-round fight, but it wasn't a title fight. Typically, that would have been a 3-round fight. And I think the logical person that is a fight fan that knows the Diaz brothers would say that a 5-round fight suits the Diaz brothers. And typically it would do. If they came in great shape, Nick and Nate, they're known for their cardio. They're known for not really getting tired. Well, Nick definitely got tired. And on this occasion, I think the fact that it was 5 rounds was another factor why Nick decided to say, I'm done. Because had it only have been 3 rounds, maybe he would have got up. Maybe he would have fought to the end of that round. And if it had gone to a decision, there's a potential that Nick might have won that. We don't know how those first 2 rounds were scored. But with Nick Diaz sitting there and he's bloodied and he's bruised and he's battered and he's tired and he's had enough physically and mentally. And then he's looking at the prospect of perhaps another 3 rounds. He's like, forget it. I'm done. I'm toast. It's over. Forget about it. Now, is it the end for Nick Diaz? We don't know. Listen. And by the way, I saw a lot of people on Twitter going on saying, oh, it's clear to me Nick Diaz just took this for the payday. He's only in it for the money. Well, that's what he does. He's a professional fighter, okay? And he's been very open over the years that this is all he's good at. Same as me, all right, now I've pivoted and I've diversified my skills, if you will. Now I'm retired, but when I was fighting, that's what I did. That's how I earned my money. Nick Diaz is a fighter. He's a warrior, right? To use Luke Rocco's line, the guy's a samurai. But that's what he does, okay? And to show up for a payday, yeah, of course he tried to win the fight though. But let me ask you this, all those people that are criticizing him for showing up for a payday, do you go to work every Monday morning full of joy and passion and drive for your job? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that hate their jobs. They do it for the money. It's called a job. That's how you pay your bills. And the way Nick Diaz pays his bills is going out there, exciting the public and putting on great fights. And that was a great fight. Listen, we've got to say well done to Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler looked sensational. I thought the speed and power. And just let's remember, he met Nick Diaz head on in that battle. Both of those guys, they're legends of the fight game, and that will never, ever change. It was great to see Nick Diaz come back, and I'd like to see him back in there again. At 38, and he didn't look his best, but I still feel that he's maybe got a little more to give, and I would like to see him come in with a full training camp. He said he only had 6 weeks. It was apparently a change of opponent, not from the UFC, but from the management or something. I don't know too much about that. And with the whole weight situation, it just seems there was a lot of things that weren't done properly. Right, it wasn't a successful training camp. So I'd like to see him come back, maybe have one more. Who knows, if he looks sensational, I'll have a few more. But I'd definitely like to see one more for Nick Diaz against another legend of the fight game, a similar guy to Robbie Lawler, a guy that's been around a long time, not somebody that's going for a title fight or anything like that. No number one contender matchups or nothing like that. No mention of Kamaru Usman. Come on, let's keep it in the realms of sanity. But another fight, another guy like Robbie Lawler. I'm not sure. Maybe down in the comments, give some suggestions. But Nick Diaz, hold your head up. I thought it was refreshingly honest of him all week, and particularly honest after the fight. Well done to Robbie Lawler. Sensational performance. And everyone, do me a favour, ring that bell so you stay notified on all my latest videos. Thank you for supporting the channel. Have a good day.